What's up, guys? Welcome into another episode of the Michigan Recruiting Report. I am your host, EJ Holland. Happy holidays. Make sure to like this video, subscribe to our YouTube channel for free, get notifications every time we drop new videos like these. So again, like this video, subscribe so you don't miss out on any new content. And if you want even more content, the transfer portal is really rolling. We're going to be talking about some guys that visited over the weekend. So if you want even more intel coming out of the weekend and just on the transfer portal in general, as well as on the late signing period, 2026 recruiting, the team as it heads to the bowl game, make sure to head over to the Wolverine.com. Subscribe today. Use the promo code UM1. That's $1 for 2 months using that promo code UM1. That gets you exclusive insider information over on the Wolverine.com. All right, guys, today we're going to be breaking down 5 key portal visitors. So it was a big weekend for Michigan in the transfer portal. They got 5 guys on campus over the weekend. Michigan already off to a nice start in the transfer portal, a top 3 recruiting class, but still some voids that need to be filled. And obviously the biggest void is quarterback. Obviously Michigan landed a 5-star in Bryce Underwood, but they did get portal quarterback Mikey Keane on campus for a visit this weekend. Again, Michigan landed Bryce Underwood. There's confidence he can make an impact as a true freshman, but the Wolverines would prefer to have a little bit of a bridge there, give Underwood some time to develop, learn from a more experienced guy. You maybe don't want to throw Underwood into the fire too quickly. So again, you'd like to have a more experienced guy to come in as that bridge and not only help Underwood, but also help the team pick up some wins. The quarterback play was obviously not a strength for Michigan this season. So if they can get a guy who's experienced, who can manage the game, who can command an offense, who's familiar with Chip Lindsey and what he does from a scheme standpoint, then I think Michigan can win some games. There's still some talent coming back and win some major games. There's still some talent coming back. And I think with Mikey Keane, he kind of gives you that game manager who's well-versed in what Chip Lindsey, Michigan's new offensive coordinator, is trying to do. Keane actually spent some time at UCF before he transferred to Fresno State. And at UCF, he played for Chip Lindsey. So again, there's familiarity with the offense. There's familiarity with Lindsey. And before this whole portal cycle started, I was told that Michigan wanted to find some guys where there was familiarity, whether it was through recruiting or different connections. Mikey Keane certainly fits that description as a guy that Lindsey is already comfortable with. Now, Keane wasn't amazing at Fresno State, but he was a very consistent quarterback. And I think that's all you need to do. You saw Michigan win plenty of meaningful games with Cade McNamara leading the way at quarterback. And, we've seen how he's turned out since leaving Michigan. So I think with Mikey Keane, you kind of get a guy who can manage the game, can manage the offense, and knows what he's doing there and serve as a bit of a mentor for Bryce Underwood. Michigan also looking at Baylor transfer DeQuan Finn, who visited earlier in the week, but Keane, the final quarterback to visit here before Christmas. All right, let's go ahead and move on to a different portal player, and that's Justice Haynes, running back out of Alabama. So Haynes was a very highly touted recruit. Now, I didn't cover him too in depth. Michigan was in the mix. They offered him, but they were never a true contender. So with Tony Alford coming over from Ohio State, that gives Michigan the in with Justice Haynes. Haynes was very interested in Ohio State. He built a great rapport with Alford. Obviously, now that Alford's at Michigan, that again gives them the in with Justice Haynes that they needed. He obviously made his way on campus. I've been told that Michigan is very willing to get aggressive from an NIL perspective as well. So that should help the Wolverines here. He does have some interest in some other SEC schools. He's originally a Georgia native, so he's made visits to South Carolina and Ole Miss. But I think Michigan has a good shot here, especially with Tony Alford and that connection. Alford's a very experienced recruiter. Recruits love him. Parents love him. He's well connected when it comes to recruiting figures and high school coaches. So, again, I think Michigan in a good spot for Haynes, who's a really important recruit. He's still a little bit of a younger back from a portal perspective, not just a 1-year guy. And he's arguably one of, if not the top running back in the portal right now. I would say very, very talented back with a ton of upside. He kind of rotated at Alabama, so he wasn't exactly a superstar for the Crimson Tide, but he does have superstar potential, especially in an offense like Michigan. And even though he was more of a role player splitting carries, he has more yards than the entire Michigan backfield that's coming back. There isn't a proven guy on Michigan's roster. There's high expectations for Jordan Marshall. Ben Hall has flashed, some here and there, but they would really like another back, another talented guy, and Justin Haynes is certainly at the top of the board. All right, let's go ahead and move on to wide receiver Skyler Bell coming in from UConn. Bell, an experienced wideout who actually started his career at Wisconsin. Michigan's really focused in on adding more size to the room. They did that in the portal earlier. They obviously did that on the recruiting trail with Jamar Browder and Jacob Washington. Skyler Bell is more your prototypical Michigan receiver, 6'1", 185, can line up on the outside, can line up in the slot, really versatile guy. He was very productive at UConn this season, had about 50 receptions for 750 yards, scored 4 touchdowns. So he's a guy that could come in, be a starter, be a very serviceable player, or an impact player even for a year for Michigan. I don't think there's anything that wows you necessarily about his game, but I think he's a guy that can be a steady pass catcher, can be consistent, can be a valuable weapon for a position that really needs help. Michigan's wide receiver room isn't all that inspiring. So I think an experienced guy like Skyler Bell could certainly move the needle for the Wolverines this upcoming season. All right, let's go ahead and move over to the offensive line, where Michigan is now in the mix for arguably the top offensive tackle in the portal in FaAlai Mo. And hopefully I didn't butcher that too bad. But like I said, he is the top offensive tackle on the board. Michigan already pulled an offensive lineman from the portal in Brady Norton. So now they're looking to do the same here with FaAlai Mo. 6'5", 250, listed as an interior offensive lineman, probably more of a right tackle based on what he's done at the next level. He visited Nebraska. He's visited LSU. You see Nebraska seems to have the early edge there on the transfer portal. I guess it's not the On3 recruiting prediction machine. So the transfer portal prediction machine, who knows in this era? Anyway, Nebraska and LSU are the schools to really watch outside of Michigan. But I think the Wolverines getting him in for that final visit before the Christmas break in visits for the portal, definitely big for the Wolverines. Sharon Moore having a background in being an offensive lineman, having coached the offensive line to back-to-back Joe Moore awards, that has to be very appealing to a guy like FaAlai Mo. Michigan's had success with guys along the offensive line coming out of the portal. There's a need there, especially with Miles Hinton leaving and Andrew Gentry leaving. So, yeah, he's definitely a top priority here for the Wolverines coming out of a big transfer portal weekend. And lastly, let's flip over to the defensive side of the ball. Michigan had Arizona defensive back Emmanuel Carley on campus. So Emmanuel Carley, really intriguing player, was kind of a bit of an under the radar recruit. Like I said, ended up at Arizona, but Michigan has a need for a corner. this portal cycle. Obviously, with Will Johnson departing, they need an impact guy. Emmanuel Carley did make an early impact at Arizona. He fits what Michigan usually looks for at the corner position in terms of length and height, 6'3", 185. So I think he would excel in a conference like the Big Ten at a place like Michigan. The Wolverines have some familiarity with guys around his recruitment. I checked in with a source close to Carley while he was still on his visit on Sunday. Things were going really well. After the basketball game, he had a meeting with Sharon Moore. So I think this is a guy that Michigan can definitely snatch out of the portal and kind of continue to bolster a defensive back room that already added 2 out of the portal in Tevis Metcalf and TJ Metcalf. So Carley definitely one to keep a close eye on. All right, so those were 5 key portal visitors coming out of a big weekend. Again, if you want more on the transfer portal, head over to thewolverine.com. Use the promo code UM1. That's $1 for 2 months. Get all the latest intel coming out of a big transfer portal weekend, and get ready for the late signing period, the bowl game. And also, like I said, guys, at the top, make sure to like this video, subscribe to our YouTube channel for free, get notifications every time we drop new videos.